Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us for today's program. My name is Tommaso Canetta. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions and Diversity Recruiting here at the MIT Sloan School. And I'm joined this evening by my colleagues, Kayon Ellis and Jessica Cordero-Wilson, who are also on the admissions team, and will be helping to answer your questions and share a little bit more with you about ways that you can launch your career at MIT Sloan through our early career programs. So we're going to go through a few slides, a short presentation to introduce you to MIT Sloan and our programs, and then we will leave some time towards the end of the session for Q&A, and those questions can be submitted using the Q&A function in Zoom. We just ask that you hold your questions until we get to the Q&A portion of the presentation. So wanted to begin tonight by sharing a little bit about the current situation at MIT Sloan with regards to COVID-19. We know that many of you are probably wondering how MIT Sloan is handling the situation. Understandably, I saw quite a few questions come in the pre-submitted questions about this. So at MIT Sloan, fortunately, we have been able to invite our students back to campus for on-campus courses this fall. There's a rigorous program of testing and contact tracing and daily attestations to ensure the safety of everyone. Students are allowed on campus for their classes and have access to virtual and remote courses as well for those students who were unable to make it to campus or are unable to travel to the Cambridge area. So really focused on keeping everyone safe and healthy while at the same time giving them the opportunity to be in person for their classes and be able to engage in the academic experience on campus here in Cambridge. As we talk about our programs here at MIT Sloan, I want to begin by sharing a little bit more about the mission statement. And the mission of MIT Sloan, as you see here, is to develop principled and innovative leaders who improve the world and to generate ideas that advance management practice. This mission statement really drives everything that we do across our portfolio of programs at MIT Sloan. And we hope that as you learn a little bit more about our programs through today's presentation and through your research, you'll really start to see how our students, our faculty, and our alumni are really living out this mission, who are really helping to create impact in the world around them. And certainly we saw that and are seeing that with the way our faculty, our students, and our alumni have responded to the unique challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, but certainly something that we've seen for alumni from all of our programs, that they really are the types of people, and the students as well, that really seek out opportunities to create an impact, seek out opportunities to improve the world around them, improve businesses, improve organizations, improve the ways things are being done. They bring that innovative, an inventive approach that is so much a part of being MIT to MIT Sloan as well. So I want to share a little bit about our portfolio of programs at MIT Sloan. As we mentioned, tonight is meant to really talk about our early career programs, ways that you can, again, launch your career. We know for many of you, you are still undergraduate students, still completing your undergraduate studies, but starting to think about what are your next steps going to look like. So at MIT Sloan, we have a portfolio of programs that designed for folks at different stages of their careers, from those like you who are just launching their careers to those who have 10, 20 years of work experience, who are pursuing our executive programs. So the three programs that we'll be talking a little bit about today are our MBA Early Admission. So this is not actually a program in and of itself, but rather an offering and an opportunity to apply to our traditional two-year MBA program as a undergraduate student. So applying early and deferring your admission for 2 to 5 years into the MBA program. Our two specialized master's programs that we'll be discussing this evening are Master of Business Analytics and our Master of Finance. These programs are focused on the areas of business analytics and finance. They are designed for those who don't necessarily have full-time work experience yet or are still early on in their careers. So an average of 0 to just about 2 years or so of work experience is typical for students who are pursuing those programs. Again, looking to launch their careers after a year or so in the areas of Business Analytics and Finance. And we'll talk a little bit about each of the programs and their individual features, and a little bit about the opportunities within each of these programs, the career opportunities, curriculum, everything, to help you understand a little bit more about what they look like. But I think it's important just to see the full range of our portfolio and understand that regardless of the program that you might be interested in and might be a part of at MIT Sloan, you'll have opportunities to engage with and interact with students, and take courses with students from across this portfolio of programs. Your clubs and activities will be open to students across that portfolio, really giving you the opportunity to engage across the broader MIT Sloan community. I mentioned, clubs and activities, and that's a big part of the graduate school experiences. I'm sure it's a big part of your undergraduate experience for many of you. There are a number of clubs and activities and organizations to get involved with as a student in any of our programs at MIT Sloan. There are a number of conferences that are sponsored by our clubs that give students a great opportunity to network, to gain experience leading large events, and to really engage with industry experts and really think about and engage in conversation about advances and sort of what's next in different industries. Thinking about conferences like our FinTech conference that brings together leaders that are really looking at what the future of FinTech might look like, or the MIT Sports Analytics Conference, which is one of the premier conferences in the sports industry that brings together thousands of folks in the industry looking at sort of how analytics is shaping the way that the sports industry is going. So as a student, again, in any of our programs, you have access to all these clubs and activities and are able to engage and really connect with students with these shared interests, as well as with industry leaders, and use that as an opportunity to network and explore different areas of interest as well. As a student at MIT Sloan, you also get to join an incredibly powerful alumni network. Not only do you gain access and become a member of MIT Sloan's alumni network, which numbers over 24,000 alumni all over the world, but you also become a member of the broader MIT alumni network and just the broader MIT network. There are 139,000 MIT alumni all over the world. You'll find our students our alumni in over 90 different countries over the world, with a number of clubs that create opportunities to stay engaged with MIT and the MIT Sloan network, even after you've graduated from your respective programs. And I think there's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of ways you can measure the impact and the power of an alumni network. I think one in particular that we like to share here that you see on the right is around entrepreneurial impact of the MIT Alumni Network. And our Entrepreneurship Center looked at the number of companies that have been started by MIT alumni, the number of jobs those companies have in turn created, and the number or the amount of revenue those companies have generated. And you see those numbers there. What I think is particularly impressive is that if you were to sort of pull these numbers together and sort of chart them against countries around the world in terms of economic their sort of economic impact, and you would find that MIT as a nation is equivalent to about the 10th largest economy in the world. That is just, again, one measure of the power of the MIT network and the MIT Sloan network that you join through any of our programs. So we're going to talk a little bit again about each of the individual programs. So I'll begin by sharing a little bit about our Master of Business Analytics and Master of Finance programs, and then I'll invite Kay on to join in and talk a little bit about MBA Early Admission. We'll run through a little bit of a highlight of the programs first, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about the admissions process as well before we get to our Q&A. So I'd like to begin with our Master of Business Analytics program. This is the top-ranked business analytics program. It is a rigorous deep dive into data science over a 12-month program. So this really gives students who are interested in data science and business analytics an opportunity to really take a deep dive into those areas, focus on applying the tools of modern data science, optimization, and machine learning. So you're not just learning sort of the theory and the technical side of things, you're really looking at also the application. And if we have all of this data that you're learning how to capture, how then do you use that data to drive decisions and to tell a story? We've seen an incredible demand from industry for people who can use the tools of data science and apply them to solve these real world business challenges. That's why we started this program I guess it's about 4 years ago now, and we continue to see growing interest from employers and from industry in hiring students and alumni who have these skills that the Master of Business Analytics helps you develop. It's a partnership between MIT Sloan and MIT's Operations Research Center, so it really brings together the best of these two areas within MIT that really have been leaders again in this area of business analytics and operations research. Again, that combination of the technical and sort of the storytelling and the application as well. It's a relatively small program with a target class size of just about 60 students, and I'll share a little bit about our most recent profile for the class, our current class of 2021. So as you see there, class size is just around 60 students. As an early career program, we don't expect to see a whole lot of full-time work experience. So on average, students in this program have about 16 months, and that includes internships that you may have had during your undergraduate education. This program is incredibly diverse with over 25 countries represented within the student body. And it's also a very rigorous program. And you see that in the academic preparation of students. You see there some of the numbers that share that academic rigor that we expect and that we look for in applicants to this program. In terms of undergraduate majors, again, a wide range of majors are represented. We do tend to see students who have STEM backgrounds that come from STEM majors do particularly well with this program, given the technical nature and quantitative nature of the program. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a few moments. The Master of Business Analytics academic program, as I said, is a 12-month program. It's STEM designated. And you're really taking a number of PhD level courses and really, again, rigorous dive into business analytics. You'll begin in the fall by taking required core classes. You can take a look there on the slide at some of those required core classes like machine learning, the optimization methods, Analytics Lab, which is an example of action learning, where you get to really put what you're learning into action by working with a partner company on an analytics project. You also will take software tools. So we do look for students in this program to have some previous programming experience, but you will be using software tools like R and Python, SQL, Julia over the course of this program. So it's helpful to have some previous knowledge and previous exposure, particularly to tools like R or Python. In the winter, during the month of January, you'll start to really think about your capstone project. The capstone is a unique experience that's part of the Master of Business Analytics, which is a 7-month opportunity to work with a partner company on a analytics project. So in teams of 2, you'll be matched with partner companies and have 7 months to work with them. So you'll begin in the winter and spring semester. You'll spend about 12 hours or so a week on your capstone project while you're completing your courses. And then over the summer, from June to August, you'll be sort of full-time with that capstone company, with that capstone project. So it is a 12-month program that will wrap up at the end of August with your final capstone presentations. There is flexibility in your elective courses that you're able to choose in that spring semester. You see a number of them listed here, but there are many more beyond this as well that you're able to take advantage of. You're able to take elective courses across MIT Sloan. You're also able to take an elective course from another MIT department as well, as long as you get it pre-approved by the business analytics program team. So it does give you that flexibility there. So that's just a little bit about our Master of Business Analytics. Just again, a little bit of an overview. We'll dive into the admissions process in a few moments. But next, I want to share a little bit more about our Master of Finance program. Similar to the Master of Business Analytics, again, this is a 1-year program for those launching their careers with that specialization in finance. This is an 18-month program, but it does also offer a 12-month fast track or accelerated option. The key difference being that for those pursuing the 18-month program, they have a summer opportunity to pursue an internship, whereas those doing the fast track 12-month option do not have an internship. So they do 12 months of courses. This curriculum is also flexible, gives you opportunities to focus in different areas within finance. You can do that through our optional concentrations in areas like capital markets, corporate finance, or financial engineering, but also flexibility in terms of your elective course selection. The Master of Finance program is very quantitative, allows students to take a deep dive into quantitative finance, and really taking advantage of being at MIT, MIT Sloan, a place where some of the leaders in modern finance, folks like Andrew Lowe, faculty like Bob Merton, who's a Nobel Prize winner in finance, are on the faculty and are teaching courses in our Master of Finance program. Like the Master of Business Analytics, you have opportunities for action learning in the Master of Finance through the Finance Lab, through the Finance Pro Seminar, where again, you're able to work on real projects with companies related to finance. So again, in all of our programs, you'll see this common theme that we really want to allow students to go beyond just learning the theory, but really to focus on the application of what you're learning as well. And in both programs, of course, you'll have access to extensive career resources, and we'll talk a little bit about careers in just a few moments. So again, just to share a little bit of the profile here. So a little bit larger than our Master of Business Analytics, typically around 120 students in the Master of Finance class. Again, a very international, lots of representation from around the world, with about 92% of the class being international students. Again, looking at undergraduate majors, many who come from math and science, business, economics, engineering, and you see a little bit of the profile in terms of the academics. And again, with work experience, on average about 13 months, including undergraduate internships. So here's just a little bit of an overview of the academic timeline in the Master of Finance program. This program actually begins in the summer. It does begin in July, so a little bit different than the fall start. You'll have core classes that you'll begin, and then again, we'll move into elective courses as well. So you can get a sense here through this timeline of some of the types of courses you would be taking. For those pursuing the accelerated option, you'll go through that summer, fall, and spring semester before graduating. And for those pursuing the 18-month option, after that those first 3 semesters, you'll have the summer internship where you can pursue an internship opportunity before returning for the fall semester to complete your degree requirements. You do have the option of completing a master's thesis if you choose. And again, that's an option that you would pursue as part of that 18-month program in the fall. So with that, I'm going to introduce my colleague Kayon, who's going to share a little bit about our MBA program and the MBA Early Admissions.
Thank you, Tommaso. So as Tommaso mentioned, the MBA Early option is an offering and not a program unto itself. What it's allowing you to do is to secure a seat in a future MBA class. And so there is nothing special that we're looking for, and there's nothing that is going to be a completely different program. That's why we're talking to you about the MBA program itself. You're getting all the knowledge, depth, the breadth of education that you would be getting in our MBA program, because that is what you will be ultimately enrolling in. And so a lot of students are going to join our MBA program to take their career to that next level, or a lot of our students are career changers looking to make that pivot to come back to school, get a few more tools in their tool belt, and then go on to another career that has piqued their interest. And Sloan is here to help you do that. It's here to help you to grow professionally with our career development office and our student life office and the MBA program office, and all the folks that are here to help support you on that growth, as well as your peers. When you're joining the MBA program at Sloan is relatively small. There are about 350 students that are in our MBA program, an additional 50 students that are LGOs. So dual degree offering you're seeing over here to the side. It's a master's in engineering as well as that MBA, and it's going to allow our students to complete both of those degrees in the same 2-year time period. And actually one of those great offerings. And so those students are have quite a bit on their plate as they do seek to complete both of those in the 2 years. But the point being that they're all interconnected and they're all moving towards this MBA, making for a really small, tight-knit community. You're going to come through your MBA and move within your ocean is what we like to call them. Those are groups of about 60 to 70 students. Then we break you up further still into your core team. So 6 to 7 carefully selected students so that your strengths are complementing each other and you're able to move towards your core semester together. I'm gonna dive into some of these other dual degree offerings as well, because we have 2 others. So the Department of Urban Studies will allow you to complete a master's degree simultaneously, as well as the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. The Harvard Kennedy School degree will be a 3-year offering, as will DUS. Let's jump into the actual curriculum. Let's talk a little bit more about what you'll be studying in the MBA program. That's not true. I'm going to talk to you about the distinction for MBA Early and LGO. Thank you, Tommaso. This is fun. All right, so we talked about the MBA Early Admissions just being an offering and not so much program, and this is what we mean. You're able to join your MBA program knowing that it's in your 5-year plan. You will have a guaranteed seat in our MBA class, and then you will go on to work for a minimum of 2 years and a maximum of 5 years. That'll be your deferral period after gaining admissions. That's where we encourage you to take your career wherever it is that you would like to go, as long as you're engaging in meaningful full-time employment, knowing that your seat in our MBA class will be there for you. But the benefit being that you're able to start connecting with Sloan, connecting with your future classmates, connecting with our alumni, current students, and really starting to build that network up so that when you are coming to campus, you're ready to hit the ground running. And then, of course, once you start working, you will absolutely appreciate not having to worry about applications while you're navigating the beginning of your professional journey. And so not having that application stress is also another bonus for the MBA Early process when you're thinking about why now. All right, next. A little bit of a breakdown about the students that we have with us this year. We talked about the class size. When our students are joining us, they are coming with about an average of 5 years. The MBA program is specifically designed to build on your work experience. So after you graduate, once you're joining the workforce, there's so much to be learned, so many skills, your leadership, your ability to work in teams, your technical ability, all of this, we're hoping that you build during this deferral period and come to us ready to jump into the material and ready to use those experiences to benefit yourself as well as your classmates that are going to be kind of coming and going back and forth with you in these classes. A little bit about the numbers that you're seeing here. Average GPAs and average GMAT or MBA early students actually tend to have academic metrics that are a little higher than this. I think partially because you guys are currently in undergraduate or graduate programs and you remember what it's like to do homework and you remember what it's like to be studying for these final exams. And so I think you're just a little bit primed and ready to go when it comes to some of these academic metrics. And then I look at the background of our students here. As you can see, students from all breadths, all majors, all disciplines are welcome and able to thrive within our MBA program. All right. And speaking of the actual program, this is a breakdown as we showed with the other programs. One of the things I want to highlight is your core semester, because there is only one. You're going to join us in the fall, and we're going to hope to set you up for success by giving you a core semester filled with classes we think it's important for you to have. That's going to build up the basis of success for the rest of your MBA program. Some of those organizational classes, an accounting class, data models and decisions, of course, highly popular. Tommaso talked about the portfolio of programs or business analytics and finance and all of these things. just a reminder that by being at MIT Sloan, you have access to all of these other touch points as well. And so making sure that you're able to take data classes if that's something you're interested in and want to engage in, even if you're not pursuing that Master's of Business Analytics full time. So after you complete that core semester, the world is available to you because the rest of your semesters are going to be comprised almost entirely of electives that you are choosing. And so there's 200 plus options for you to take on some of those action learning labs where you're getting that firsthand experience working with companies, local governments, global government, and taking on all of these different challenges in the real world, and then coming back to the classroom and tackling that with groups and with our faculty as support systems. On top of the fact that you have even more available to you at greater MIT and Harvard's graduate schools, as you're allowed to take up to 3 classes outside of this Sloan bubble. And so think about all the ways that you can really shape and craft your semesters. However, if that sounds really overwhelming, if 200 electives feels like too many, we absolutely have ways for you to help to kind of streamline that process. And we can take a look on that next slide. So the tracks and certificates are what I'm referring to. Think about the tracks as a way to guide some of what you'll be doing for those electives. So we have the entrepreneurship, enterprise management, and the finance options. If these are things that you would like to really take a deep dive into and to really focus your MBA learning on, the tracks allow you to focus on that. There are classes that are, there are a few core classes within the tracks as well as further electives there, but they help to kind of add structure. And at the end of completing a track or certificate, both of which are completely optional, you do not have to pursue them if none of them are of interest to you. But at the end of it, you will have a document that's stating that this is something that you have taken a dive into, that you have a background in finance or your background in healthcare. That can be a signal to future employers that this is an industry that you are qualified and ready to dive into, especially if you're looking to make that pivot. So you might be working in an industry and looking to go into healthcare after your time at Sloan. Completing the certificate, completing our healthcare lab might, of course, give you all of those tools that you need to join the healthcare profession and thrive, and then give employers the confidence that you have this content and you have this knowledge coming in. So there's all of this flexibility that you have, and we haven't even talked about the independent activities period, or SIP. So at Sloan and at MIT in general, we like to give you breaks in your semester. And so the independent activities period is MIT wide, and it's the entire month of January. We don't have traditional classes. So that spring semester is, of course, starting in February, which means that January, you have available to take a dive into projects, work on an entrepreneurial pursuit. We do have some 4-week classes that can be something as fun as learning how to knit, or there was a song that the class that took look at some Kanye West lyrics. And so there's definitely a range of things because you can also learn Python. So there's a range of classes that you can do in that independent activities period. All of this is to say that when you come to Sloan, it's up to you to kind of shape that experience and think about what it is that you're looking to get out of your time with us. All right.
So I want to talk a little bit about a few more things before we talk about the admissions process. And first and foremost is action learning. And I know I touched on this a little bit as I was speaking about our Master of Business Analytics and our Master of Finance programs. This is something that you will find in all of our programs at MIT Sloan, certainly in the MBA as well. And this is, again, an opportunity and really a way of teaching that we sort of subscribe to here at MIT Sloan and across all of MIT, where it's a hands-on learning environment. It's project-based learning. So in our action learning portfolio, we have a number of courses, elective courses that students can take, which will allow them to work on projects with partner companies and organizations, helping them address real challenges and opportunities that they're facing. Focus on everything from analytics to finance to healthcare, operations. There's also some that are more regional focused, like our China lab or even our USA lab. So great opportunities that you can take advantage of, again, as elective courses. But I think it's important to note that beyond just the action learning lab courses, you will have opportunities for action learning in many of your classes. Again, really focusing on giving you opportunities to apply what you're learning, to work on real world sort of problems, work with real world companies and organizations and partners as you navigate and learn about different topics. I also want to talk a little bit about careers. We know that there were a number of questions around sort of careers and what types of careers each program might sort of prepare you for, and that also sort of action learning can be a part of that opportunity where you start to network and start to get exposure to different companies. So these are just a sampling of some of the companies that have sponsored action learning projects. We see some of the capstone in the Master Business Analytics sponsors, General Motors or BCG Gamma, and Master of Finance and the Finance Lab, some of the firms like McKinsey, Eaton Vance, Citi, BlackRock that are sponsoring projects there, and the MBA Action Learning Labs, which feature partners from large companies, like Amazon or SpaceX. Again, giving students opportunities not just to work on projects with these companies, but also start to build their network and to learn a little bit more about them. Speaking of careers, just want to share a little bit about the career support that you get in our early career programs, as well as the MBA. You get early online access to our career development office once you matriculate, and they are your sort of key advisors as you navigate, the career search. There are dedicated career advisors for the various programs. So there are MBA career advisors, there are Master of Finance, and there are Master of Business Analytics career advisors. So they're able to really have that unique understanding of each program and the types of students and the types of career decisions and searches that they're undergoing. The Career Development Office sponsors career fairs and treks, which are opportunities to travel and visit companies on site when it's safe to do so, of course. Career fairs where employers are coming to campus. The analytics program sponsors an analytics career night that's very popular, but also general career fairs as well. There's Career Core, which are dedicated classes that help students navigate the career search process, access to on-campus recruiting, and of course, networking with the amazing alumni network that we've touched on, as well as employers. For all of these programs, there's a great network, there's a great recognition of the strength of the programs and the strength of the alumni that come out of each program. So a number of companies that are recruiting actively for students from all of these programs. For the MBA, our top industries for graduates tend to be consulting, technology, and finance. Almost 3/4 of students, will facilitate their offers through, school activities. This is just a small sampling of some of the companies that hire our students. I invite you for all of our programs as we go through them to review the website and the employment reports to dive into a little bit more detail on the data for the careers. Master of Business Analytics, likewise, you see some great career results here. Consulting, technology are very popular in terms of the types of roles. You see folks going into data scientist roles, analytics associate, machine learning scientists, business intelligence, and 100% of students had full-time offers at graduation coming out of the Master of Business Analytics program. Again, just a sampling of the companies that hire those students can be seen. And finally, with our Master of Finance, again, a number of great companies that are recruiting these students and hiring these students. In terms of the functions, the majority, 35%, are going into quantitative analysis and trading. A good number who are going into investment banking, sales, trading, and so forth. Investment banking analysts, private equity, consulting, quant trading, quantitative analyst, all amongst some of the job titles typical for graduates from this program. As we talked about, there's the 18-month format and the 12-month accelerated format. For those in the 18-month format that have the opportunity to do an internship, 100% of them completed internships. Again, with a number of these companies that are also recruiting for full-time offers. Great. So I'll turn it back over to Kayon now to talk a little bit about the application process for each of the programs, and then we will open it up to Q&A.
Absolutely. So I see that those questions are trickling in. Thank you, guys. And quite a few of them have to do with the application process. So let's jump right in. Assuming that you are excited to engage in one of these programs, here's a quick application checklist for the Masters of Finance and Masters of Business Analytics. The MBA early application process has a few differences, and I'll highlight them as they go through. So this third recommendation letter, we require 3 recommendations letters for these programs. One of them we're looking to receive from an academic source, the other from a professional source. And by professional, for those of you who are just graduating from undergraduate, that of course can include an internship, working with a professor on campus, a research opportunity. I'm just somebody who has seen you in that kind of work, more professional space. And then that third letter of recommendation is up to you, somebody that you think can share anecdotes, evidence of your success, evidence that can talk to your technical abilities, evidence that talks about your ability to communicate and to thrive and to work well in teams. We're looking to see all of these traits highlighted, and they tend to make for successful students. And so I'm looking to hear a little bit about those. And then we have 2 video questions. I'm highlighting these 2 because the rest of them are equal across both programs, and I'll talk about them when I get to the MBA early slide. But for Masters of Finance and Masters of Business Analytics, one of these videos will ask you to introduce yourself to a future classmate. They won't see the video, but I want you to think about that prompt. Think about what you would say to somebody on the first day of school. You're meeting somebody in that week. What are you going to share? So we're looking to understand a little bit about your personality and charisma. If you're funny, now is a time to let me know. So we're looking to see all of those more personal component. And then the second video will be an automated question that will populate after all other components are completed. We'll give you time to read the question and think about it. It will not be something that requires any preparation or any previous knowledge. And then we will, of course, have you record a quick response to that video. We're looking to test some of that English proficiency and your ability to think on your feet. And so those are, I think, 2 of the things that are most important, but I also want to make sure that I'm touching on testing. A lot of you are asking, and we have also been living in 2020, and we have, as an office, made adjustments because we want to make sure that we're being thoughtful about this process and supporting our students to and through the admissions process. And so when it comes to standardized testing, and at this point I mean the GMAT, the GRE, the TOEFLs, IELTS, whichever of these applications, they're still a component of our application process. We have a holistic review process, which means we're looking at each individual piece that is being submitted, and then we're keeping in mind the context of each applicant. However, understanding that coronavirus is causing actual challenges for folks, inability to access testing centers, and folks are not equipped to take online testing, we are allowing candidates for this 2020 to 2021 admission cycle to submit their application without a test, and we will review it as is. We will not make any negative inferences. We absolutely understand. And then if those students are admitted, we will not require that you take a test. So to be clear, this is the standardized testing is still a component of our application, but we are allowing students who are having difficulty submitting the tests to submit their application without it, and we will review without negative inferences. We are, however, allowing students to submit additional pieces of academic preparation that can be expired test scores in GRE and GMAT. We aren't looking to see SATs or ACTs. I'm sure those were really well done, but I'm not really in the range of what we're looking to see. If you completed MicroMasters, MBA Math, a CPA certification, any of those things are also helpful context to see when it comes to additional coursework that you can share with us. And then for MBA Early, it's very similar with a few changes. For MBA Early, we only require 2 letters of recommendation. We're also looking to see that academic and that professional delineation. You are free to submit whatever you would like, but that is our preference. We think it gives us a well-rounded ability to see you as both an academic and a future professional. And the testing requirements or testing policy also extends to GRE and GMAT scores for the MBA Early. We do not require TOEFL. And that second video statement is also not required for MBA Early. What is required is a cover letter. This cover letter, I'd love for you to think about this idea of impact. A lot of folks are asking what we're looking for an MBA Early applicant who doesn't have full-time work experience. We know you don't. It's actually a requirement that you not have full-time work experience, but you will be joining a future MBA class, and so we're looking for the exact same characteristics. I'm looking for strong leaders. I'm looking for folks that are able to take on challenges, think outside of the box, work well in a team, the kind of folks that are doers, that want to get their hands dirty. This idea of mind and hand and mens et manus, which is MIT's motto, is also true at Sloan, being an MIT school. And so we're looking to understand your impact. So when you're writing this cover letter, focus on anecdotes of things that you've done, things that you've accomplished, and less so looking into the future and the crystal ball, as I like to call it. We like to think that when you come to Sloan, we might very well blow your mind. We might expose you to industries and people and things that you'd never considered. And that might mean a shift in your perspective. And so don't be too wedded to what you think will happen. Instead, talk to me about things you've done. Talk to me about changes and policies and impact that you have spearheaded and that you've had a hand in, because that's what we're going to be using to look into who it is that you are and all of the things that you can bring to Sloan in the future. That being said, I also want to clarify for MBA Early, we don't have a requirement for the industry or the type of industry that you join during your deferral period after we admit you. That is up to you. We just want to make sure that you are employed full-time for a minimum of 2 years before you join us. All right. I want to make sure that I am keeping my eye on the time and leaving a reasonable amount of time for questions as Tommaso joins me here. So I'm going to be scrolling through just to make sure that we're catching as many as we can.
Sure. So again, feel free to share those questions in the Q&A. You'll also see a little thumbs up below each of the questions that have already been asked there. So if there are questions that you want to upvote with that thumbs up, that'll move them up to the top of the list so we can make sure we get to those that will answer those questions. So I'll start off here with Brandon's question at the top about how the admissions team views your candidacy, having little to no work experience. And I'll kind of address this across the three programs since, as we've talked about, for all these programs, we're not expecting to see full-time work experience. As Kayan mentioned, we're looking at the entire application, and we are looking for ways that you have demonstrated the qualities that we look for that we believe will make you, a good addition to our programs. For applicants to these programs, we do many times see that they have internships that they've completed during their undergraduate studies or research assistantships. These are examples of work experience, even though they're not full-time, that are still really valuable for us to see and give us some insight into your sort of professional abilities and the professional experience that you might have. But we also recognize that as undergraduate students, you may be very involved in your undergraduate community, in your undergraduate campus, perhaps leading different clubs or organizations, or just being involved in different activities on campus, student government, things like that. Those are also really helpful for us to see, to learn a little bit more about how you work in teams and your leadership style. So we look for the same qualities, but we will look for them sort of in different ways and in different parts of your application in a different context, knowing that you don't have that full-time work experience.
I'm seeing a question about which program to pursue. Somebody is interested in fintech. That is, I think, a great question for us to touch on. This is up to you. You are able, if you would like, to apply to all three of these programs at the same time. But I do want you to be thoughtful about what it is that you're hoping to get out of your master's experience. For instance, if you are interested in finance, you are able to take as deep a dive as you would like into our Master's of Finance program with our concentrations and our electives and our strong faculty and staff. If you would also like to be adding some of that communication and leadership and some of the skill sets that the MBA will offer you, remember that we also have the opportunity for you to take a track in finance within the MBA. And so there's no shortage of opportunities and answers to your questions. It's all about the experience that you want to craft. And so if you're interested in also maybe doing both, remember the MBA Early offering allows you a deferral period, and in that deferral period you can pursue another master's degree if you would like. That of course does not count towards your work experience minimum. And so if you wanted to do a Master's of Finance, which is an 18-month or 12-month program, knowing that you would like to come and join the MBA class in another set of years, that is up to you. And so that was just a long way of me saying that we offer you so many different ways to accomplish what it is you're hoping to accomplish, that it's up to you to figure out what that balance looks like, and we'll support you in any way we can there.
Great. So Samantha's question here about different majors and whether they're weighted differently in regards to your GPA. So, when we're looking at your academic preparedness, when we're looking at your undergraduate transcripts, a lot of folks sort of focus on the GPA number that, we report out the average GPA, of course. But in the admissions committee, we're rarely looking just at that GPA. We're always sort of diving deeper into your transcript and really taking a look at your individual courses, your major, to see how you did in different types of courses that may have rolled up into that overall GPA. It doesn't necessarily mean that one major is more competitive than another. Certainly for our Master of Finance and our Master of Business Analytics, because of the quantitative rigor of those programs, we are going to look to see that you have that quantitative ability and experience academically. That doesn't mean you have to be from a STEM major. You may be from you may be from a liberal arts major, but you've taken those quantitative courses that we're going to be looking for to demonstrate that ability. And that's just one indicator. We're going to look at that in conjunction with test scores if you have submitted them, or any other sort of academic credentials that you may have been submitting as well, to get that sense of overall, your academic ability and will you be successful in the classroom at MIT Sloan, because that's what's we're sort of asking when we're looking at that question. And I'll just address Juan's question as well about financial aid. For the Master of Finance and the Master of Business Analytics, or rather for all programs at MIT Sloan, the financial aid, the fellowships are merit-based. So everyone is automatically considered for the Master of Finance and the Master of Business Analytics when they apply. And if you are selected for any sort of financial aid, you would be notified at the time of your admission to those programs. One added sort of piece of financing with the Master of Business Analytics is that every student in that program automatically earns I believe it's about $20,000 tuition offset. That is part of doing the capstone. So as part of the capstone agreement, those companies provide funding to those students, so it'll offset your tuition by $20,000, as well as an additional $5,000 stipend for living expenses during the capstone project. So that is just for the Master of Business Analytics program. For MBA Early, you will not be considered for financial aid when you apply. But when you decide to matriculate to the program, so after those 2 to 5 years after that deferral period, you will submit sort of some paperwork at that point saying that this is the year that you're going to enroll. And at that point, we will review you for financial aid within the pool of the rest of the applicants who are applying into the program in that year.
That is all correct. I do want to add that for those that are interested in the LGO program, that dual Masters in Engineering offering, those partner companies and working with those partner companies and completing that internship capstone opportunity there does tend to typically yield a merit award of about 50% of the tuition for all LGO admits. And so that's another opportunity for you to connect and complete those degrees and then get some great work experience as well. I see Chris has a question about communicating that deferral period to your employer. Chris, that is a completely personal question. It is up to you whether to tell them or not, or whether to tell them immediately. Different folks have navigated this in different ways. This program is still fairly new. And so I would be interested as well to learn about some of our students as they join us about when they decided to share that, but I don't have a right or wrong answer for you.
Question here about the details about the 3 certificates we have for Master Business Analytics. So actually the 3 certificates that we have are offered to students in any of our programs at MIT Sloan. They're actually open to any graduate programs at MIT, so they're a little bit more interdisciplinary. The certificates are a great way to help you as you choose your elective courses to focus in different areas that might be of interest. So the certificates are offered in business analytics, in healthcare, and in sustainability. So if your interests align with those and you choose a certificate, there's a list of 4 or 5 courses, or a selection of courses out of a list of 4 or 5 that you do have to complete in order to earn that certificate. You also get opportunities to engage with students across, again, MIT Sloan and MIT who also share interests in those areas. They are optional. They can be selected at any point during your studies.
Thank you for your question, Chris, asking you about the resume length. This is a 1-page resume. I know you're all eager and excited, but we have a 1-page resume for our MBAs that are joining us with 8 years of work experience. So I believe in your ability to fit everything into 1 page for us.
Question from Min around programming experience that might be required for the Master Business Analytics or Master of Finance programs. So while not strictly a requirement or a prerequisite, again, as I mentioned, you will be doing programming as part of the Master Business Analytics program. So it's helpful to have some previous experience in programming, particularly in languages like R and Python, whether that's through formal classes, whether it's self-taught, definitely something to highlight if you have that. For the Master of Finance, you will be required to demonstrate programming proficiency in order to complete the program. So again, not a prerequisite to be admitted or apply into the Master of Finance, but you will take a programming assessment and when you begin in the program, and you do have to pass that assessment in order to sort of meet that requirement for graduation. If you don't pass it on the first try, you'll have opportunities to retake it. You'll have opportunities to take software tools courses and attend recitations and whatnot to help you achieve that proficiency to pass that assessment. So not a strict prerequisite for either program, but again, and particularly in Master Business Analytics, really helpful to have as you will be using those programming languages.
Very helpful. I'm seeing a few questions about MBA Early. I'm going to answer as many of them as I'm seeing. So somebody's asking about if you're not accepted to the early MBA, are you still able to apply for a traditional MBA? Absolutely. The MBA Early application offering is fairly competitive, so please don't be discouraged if you're not necessarily successful there. We're happy to have you at Sloan, especially after you've gone and gained work experience and are looking to come to us many years later with another set and depth of skills and experiences to share. That's also true of anybody who's interested in applying to these dual degree programs, because you will be doing it the year you are beginning your MBA. If you're applying with early MBA, and so you're coming to us after years of experience and you'll be completing that application for, in the case of LGO, the engineering department, for HKS and for DUSP, because you've already secured your seat in the MBA class. And so you'll be completing 1/2 of the application process there.
Question here about for those students who are pursuing their undergraduate studies here in the US, if they're able to waive the submission of the TOEFL or IELTS scores for the Master of Business Analytics and Master of Finance program. So if your entire undergraduate education has been completed in the US in an English program, then you will not be required to submit the TOEFL or the IELTS. Again, this year is a little bit different. For all applicants, those tests will not be required if you're unable to take them given the ongoing pandemic. And can go to the next question here from Rita around recruiting timelines for the Master of Finance program. Great question. So as we talked about, the big difference between the Master of Finance, the 18-month format or the accelerated 12-month format is that you don't have that opportunity, is the difference of whether or not you do the summer internship. So those in the 18-month MFin program will, begin recruiting for those summer internships pretty early on in the program. And at the same time, those in the 12-month will be recruiting for their full-time offers. So I think for both of those, the recruiting tends to begin in the fall semester. For those in the 18-month after their summer internship, when they come back in the fall, that's when they'll then recruit for their full-time offers. Many of them, come back from their internships with full-time offers from their internships. So for them, they may not be re-recruiting. So that may depend, but as we talked about, you'll have dedicated career advisors who will walk you through this. The career sort of advising begins in the summer. So there's a career boot camp that you do as part of the orientation to the program that will really help you understand how to maximize your time, how to navigate that recruiting timeline, whether you're in the 18-month or the accelerated 12-month.
Going through and answering a few as you chat, Tommaso. So somebody's talking about GMAT versus GPAs and how they're weighted. I love getting questions like this so I can remind folks that admissions is more of an art than a science. I think everybody wants there to be a formula that 1 + 1 = 2. But that's not how it works. There is no specific weighting. We are just looking at all pieces of your application in this holistic process and taking in the context as you're sharing it with us, especially this year when folks may not be able to submit test scores. It's important to us that we're able to see the entire applicant and to see the entire file and whatever information you would like to share.
Great. Well, I know we just have a couple of minutes left, so I want to begin to wrap up, as I know Keon and Jess are probably answering just a few final questions there in the chat. But let me just thank all of you for joining us for the presentation today. We encourage you to stay connected with us. If you have any follow-up questions, please do feel free to reach out to the admissions team, and you can see the email addresses for each of the programs listed below, and our staff will respond to those emails and be happy to answer any questions that you may have about the programs or about your application, your specific situation. We are happy to answer those. You'll also be receiving an invite shortly after the session wraps up. You'll receive an email from us, and that will include an invite to sign up for coffee chats. So you'll have an opportunity to join a member of the admissions team for a 30-minute or so coffee chat. So it'll be another opportunity to have any questions that may not have been answered tonight answered. There's no presentation. It'll be a Zoom meeting, so you'll be able to interact with the admissions officer and again, ask any questions that you may have about the individual programs you're interested in or your application and have those answered. So keep an eye out in your email for the information on how to sign up for those coffee chats. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Again, thank you all so much for joining. We hope that you found this helpful. We apologize if we weren't able to get to your question tonight, but again, encourage you to reach out to us either by email or by signing up for one of those coffee chats. And we look forward to receiving all of your applications and hopefully seeing you at another event in the future. Thank you all so much and enjoy the rest of your day.